Marcus Thorne had another argument with his female secretary. This time, he was certain it was over for good. At 1 in the morning, he held me with a sense of desperation, his eyes pleading. Sophie is young and beautiful, and she can be fun, but she's just too immature. She doesn't love me at all. I don't want to be with her anymore. Darling, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I finally see it now. All these years, you're the only one who has ever truly loved me and put up with me. Let's have a child. If we have a child, my heart will be settled here at home, and Sophie won't be able to distract me in the slightest. After a moment of quiet, I pulled out the divorce papers I had prepared a long time ago. Let's get a divorce, I said softly. I don't want you anymore either. Divorce? He looked at me as if I had just told the most ridiculous joke he had ever heard. His expression quickly soured from shock to anger. Clara Hayes, how many times have you brought up divorce this year? You never follow through with it, so what's the point of this charade? We have 8 years of history together, and just because I made a mistake that any man in the world could make, you're going to throw it all away. His voice got louder, his tone shifting, as if he were the one who had been wronged. Besides, I never even touched Sophie's hand. It doesn't even technically count as cheating. Can you please stop being so unreasonable? I looked down and managed a tired smile. Marcus, this past year, you and Sophie have broken up and gotten back together dozens of times. You've said these exact same words to me just as many times. I can't tell what's real and what's not anymore. And frankly, I don't have the energy to try. So just think of me as unreasonable. I pushed the divorce documents closer to him. Sign them. I'm tired. I was always his fallback, the safe place he returned to when things went wrong. If he didn't love me, he should just let me go instead of keeping me here like a fool, always waiting for him to come back. He stared at the papers for a long moment, then suddenly snatched them up, tore them into pieces, and tossed them into the trash can. In the next instant, he reached out and pulled me into an embrace, resting his chin on my head. His voice softened. Clara, this time I have really, truly cut all ties with Sophie. It's late now. Let's just go to sleep. After a brief pause, he added, as if he were bestowing a great favor upon me, Tomorrow, I'll take you to pick out a new apartment. That will make you feel better. This had become our pathetic routine. Every time he fought with Sophie and wanted to make up with me, I would provide him with an easy way back. Over the last year, this pattern had resulted in him buying me 28 apartments. He seemed to have forgotten that I am the chairman of the company we built. I don't need him to buy me a house. I turned my back to him in bed and said calmly, I'll have another divorce agreement prepared by tomorrow. He just smiled, a knowing sound in the dark, probably thinking I had already forgiven him yet again. A moment later, I felt him press his body against my back, his warm breath on my ear. Darling, you promised, he whispered. Give me a child. Just as I was about to pull away, his phone on the nightstand started to ring. Big brother, answer the phone. Your little cutie is calling. The cloyingly sweet ringtone was especially grating in the silent bedroom. He pulled away from me in a hurry, rushing out of the room so fast he didn't even grab his slippers. Soon, I could hear his deliberately quieted voice from the hallway. Baby, don't cry. I swear I didn't touch her. The person on the other end of the line was clearly not convinced, and he began to pace back and forth in frustration. I quietly turned over in bed, blinking at the ceiling. My eyes felt dry. There were no more tears left to cry. The bedroom door was suddenly thrown open. He stormed back in, holding his phone with the camera pointed directly at me, where I lay on the bed. "See? She's sound asleep. Why would I lie to you?" I felt a hot wave of embarrassment wash over me and quickly pulled the blanket up over my head to hide. But he was faster, yanking the blanket away. The glaring light from the phone screen felt like a physical slap, stinging my face. I instinctively squeezed my eyes shut, but I could still picture Sophie's smug smile on the screen. "Marcus, brother, I really don't mind," her voice cooed through the speaker. "After all, Clara is your wife." I abruptly knocked the phone out of his hand. "I'm trying to sleep." Marcus was clearly taken aback. "You weren't asleep?" At that moment, Sophie started screaming through the phone, a sob catching in her voice. "Marcus, brother, why did the screen go black? I'm so scared." Before the sound of her voice had even faded, Marcus had already turned and bolted from the room. "There's an emergency at the company. I have to go right now." The front door slammed shut. In the darkness, my heart gave a sudden, painful lurch. 3 years of dating, followed by 5 years of marriage. I truly don't understand how we arrived at this point. Through all the years of starting the business, we had stayed up through countless nights and endured an endless number of social functions together. The company was doing better than ever, but he had become increasingly distant from me. We eventually reached a point where we had nothing left to say to each other. Birthdays, Valentine's Day, our wedding anniversaries, they all passed without any surprises or gestures from him. I always told myself, we're an old married couple now. Romance isn't that important. That was until Sophie appeared. The new secretary was clever and capable. She made witty contributions in meetings, played an excellent game of golf, and could handle even the most difficult clients with a graceful ease. Marcus looked at her with a fiery intensity I hadn't seen in a very long time. She was perfect in every way, except for her pride. She refused to be his kept woman, his caged bird. The more he couldn't have her, the more obsessed he became. This latest little fight was simply because Sophie had accepted a ride home from a male colleague. I was tossing and turning in bed when my phone screen lit up just as I expected. It was a message from Sophie. In the picture she sent, Marcus had changed into a pair of silk pajamas and was standing by a floor-to-ceiling window, casually sipping a glass of wine. The caption read, "Clara, sis, Marcus is home with me now, so you can rest easy." I did feel at ease, strangely. I even found the situation somewhat laughable. I remember when I first found out about their ambiguous relationship, I went to find Sophie to talk to her. At the time, she had looked at me with clear impatience and said, "Clara, I've been rejecting him constantly. It's been a problem for me, too. Can't you keep your own husband under control?" The very next day, Marcus had lashed out at me. "Sophie has helped me so much at work. I was just giving her some gifts to show my appreciation. By causing a scene at the company, are you trying to ruin her career? Look at them. They were both so innocent, and I was the one being unreasonable." After that, Sophie seemed determined to prove a point to me, and began to report every single detail of her life with him. On her birthday, Marcus hired a Michelin-starred chef to make a cake for her on site, and the entire company was given the day off just to celebrate with her. On Valentine's Day, a fleet of 1,000 drones formed her profile in the night sky, which eventually transformed into a shower of pink meteor lights. Even on her work anniversary, they had a diamond-encrusted employee badge custom-made for her, which he personally pinned on her during the morning meeting. With such a high-profile romance, why would she need to specifically announce anything? Everyone in the entire company already knew. Seeing that I hadn't replied to her message for a long time, she actually sent a video call invitation directly to my phone. In the past, I would always have hung up in a fluster, but now I just didn't feel like it mattered anymore. The moment the video call connected, I saw a flicker of surprise cross her face before she forced a smile and turned the camera toward Marcus, who was on the sofa. His eyes were closed, as if he were already half asleep. "Marcus is too tired, so he's just resting on the sofa," she whispered, deliberately explaining to the camera. "I'll be sleeping in the bedroom. Don't worry, Clara. I'm not that kind of casual person." Before she could finish her sentence, Marcus suddenly reached out and pulled her into his arms. "Sophie, just say yes. If you nod your head, I'll divorce Clara immediately. I've grown so tired of her. Coming home every day to see her lifeless face just makes me feel hopeless about my own life. All she does is revolve around me, at work and at home. She has no hobbies of her own, no social circle. She just follows me around like a shadow. It's downright suffocating." My mind went completely blank. A sharp, stabbing pain spread through my chest. In his eyes, our 8 years of companionship had become nothing more than a suffocating shackle. Perhaps to make sure that I had heard her clearly, Sophie suddenly raised her voice. "Marcus, brother, I told you I will not be the other woman. You're still a married man. What's the point of saying these things to me?" Marcus was silent for a few seconds, then spoke with a hint of grievance in his voice. "Baby, do you think I'm too old for you? I'm only 5 years older than you are. There's no generation gap between us at all." Sophie abruptly pushed him away. "Stop changing the subject. The truth is, you just can't bring yourself to get a divorce, can you?" The next moment, Marcus's expression suddenly darkened, and he turned away from her petulantly. "I'm tired. I'm going to sleep." Sophie's tears instantly welled up in her eyes, and large drops fell onto his cheek. He let out an impatient sound, but still leaned in to kiss the tears away. "Be good. Just wait a little bit longer. Once the company goes public and I take back Clara's shares, we'll get divorced." The video call abruptly cut off at that moment. A sudden, overwhelming wave of sorrow washed over me, and the tears I thought had long since dried up finally burst forth. This company was founded with the compensation money I received after my parents' car accident. When we drafted our initial agreements, I had foolishly agreed to split the company's shares equally with him. Little did I know that he would eventually try to take away the last half that remained in my name. Since he didn't want to part ways amicably, then I no longer needed to hold back. With trembling hands, I dialed my lawyer's number, my voice eerily calm. "Redraft the agreement. The company is my premarital asset. Not a single share will be conceded." At dawn, I picked up the newly prepared divorce papers from the law firm and was about to head to the company to have him sign them when my phone suddenly rang. It was his best friend calling. "Sister-in-law, Marcus is at the club, completely wasted. You need to come and get him." I replied calmly, Contact Sophie." The voice on the other end hesitated. "We already did. She told us to call you. Sister-in-law, did you two have a fight? Marcus dragged us out in the middle of the night, didn't say a word, and just started drowning himself in liquor. White wine, foreign liquor, all mixed together. If this keeps up, something bad is going to happen." When I remained silent, he continued to try and persuade me. "Honestly, after so many years of marriage, you must both be tired of looking at each other. Sophie is just a little bit of novelty for him, a way to seek some excitement. Once this phase passes, he'll surely settle down. If you're really that angry about it, you could also find someone for yourself. That would make things even, wouldn't it?" I let out a cold laugh. "Send me the private room number. I'm coming over to have him sign a document." He breathed a sigh of relief. "Great. I knew you would be the most reasonable one." When I pushed open the door to the private room, a strong smell of alcohol hit me. Marcus was still wearing that same silk pajama set from the night before, his collar wide open, leaning against the sofa with unfocused eyes. His buddies all stood up, as if they had been granted amnesty when they saw me. "We'll leave him to you. We need to go catch up on some sleep." Marcus waved at me with blurry eyes. The corners of his mouth curled into that familiar, arrogant arc. I approached him with an expressionless face. He suddenly yanked me into his embrace, his burning hot face buried in my shoulder. I felt his shoulders trembling, and soon a warm liquid soaked through the fabric of my clothes. His voice was muffled. "You're so fucking heartless. It's freezing in the middle of the night, and I didn't even have a coat on, yet you just kicked me out. I only kissed your eyes because it hurt me to see you crying. I promised not to touch you before we were married, but it's been a whole year. Who else dates as pathetically as I do?" I stood frozen in place, letting him hold me. After a long while, I finally whispered, "Do you really love her that much?" Marcus lifted his drunken head, seeming to realize that I wasn't the person he was expecting. He abruptly pushed me away. "Who are you? Don't touch me. You're not Sophie. Go away, I want Sophie." I staggered back from his push and knocked over the coffee table. The liquor bottle on it shattered on the floor, and sharp pieces of glass pierced the palm of my hand. Yet I felt no pain. I slowly pulled a shard of glass from my palm, casually shook off the blood, and handed the divorce agreement to him. "Sign it. Once you do, you can be with Sophie." His gaze fell on my bleeding hand. Suddenly, in a panic, he grabbed my hand and began to gently blow on it. "Honey, how did you get hurt? Does it hurt?" I coldly withdrew my hand and shoved the pen into his grasp. "Sign it!" Marcus suddenly threw the agreement aside and wrapped his arms around my waist like a petulant child. "Honey, I won't sign. I said I wouldn't get a divorce. Didn't you already agree to have a baby with me?" The agreement lay on the floor, soaked in the spilled liquor, its ink slowly bleeding into a blurred stain. This was the second time. The first time he said I was being unreasonable, and this time he was pretending to be drunk and acting crazy. As tears threatened to spill uncontrollably from my eyes, I tilted my head back to hold them in and raised my hand to slap him across the face. "Marcus, what exactly is it that you want? I'll step aside. I'll let you two be together. It's just signing a piece of paper. Is that so difficult?" He suddenly grabbed my wrist. His drunken eyes glazed over as he revealed a gentle smile. "Don't be angry, my love. Your hand is injured. Hitting me would only hurt you." Those words were like a blunt knife, stabbing straight into my heart. A year ago, I was similarly wounded all over, yet I chose to forgive him amidst his sweet whispers. I never thought that a year would pass, and I would find myself in the exact same situation again. He knows exactly how to manipulate me. One slap followed by a piece of candy, and I would run back to him without hesitation, just like I always did. But not this time. I raised my other hand and slapped down with all my strength. "Clara, sis, Marcus is just drunk. How could you hit him?" Sophie's sharp voice suddenly came from the doorway. Marcus's eyes instantly lit up, and he staggered toward her. "Sophie, I knew you couldn't bear to leave me." Sophie quickly steadied the swaying man and then turned to scold me. "Clara, this afternoon is the company's IPO roadshow. You should understand how important this cocktail party is, right? Do you two have to resort to violence when you argue? How are we supposed to face the investors after that? If someone asks about his face, am I supposed to say that the general manager always gets beaten by his own wife?" I was practically laughing in disbelief at her sheer audacity. "Secretary Lane, may I ask in what capacity you are speaking to the chairman of this company? Even if Marcus doesn't attend this reception today, what's the big deal? You're just a lowly secretary. Aren't you overstepping your bounds?" Sophie's face instantly turned deathly pale, her eyes immediately reddening. "Fine. I don't care anyway. If the investors aren't happy, it's still me, the little secretary, who's supposed to shield you from drinking and suffer the consequences. At worst, I'll just end up with a stomach hemorrhage again, like last time." I let out a cold laugh. "When have you ever really shielded me from drinking? How about I give you a chance today to block all the drinks for both me and Marcus?" Every time there was a business dinner, she would hide in the back and push me, the chairman, to the front lines. I would be vomiting from drinking at the dinner table while she was busy patting the back and making soup for Marcus, who had barely drunk a few glasses. Sophie's face stiffened, and tears instantly burst forth. "Clara, you just want to use this as an opportunity to get back at me. You can't control your own husband, so you take it out on me." She pretended to push Marcus away. "I quit this job. I resign." Marcus sobered up completely in an instant. He immediately held her tightly while shooting me a reproachful glare. "Clara, Sophie was just thinking about the company's interests. Can't you be a little more accommodating to her?" Then he turned and gently coaxed Sophie. "Sophie, Sophie, you're my right-hand woman. The company can't function without you. We agreed that we would work together until retirement. No resignations allowed." With that, he put his arm around Sophie and walked out without looking back at me once. In the car, Sophie naturally followed Marcus and sat in the back seat. "Clara, I still need to confirm the banquet arrangements with Marcus. Could you please sit in the front?" I had already settled into the passenger seat and simply ignored her. Marcus waved his hand dismissively. "Never mind her. Let's get down to business." I closed my eyes for a moment and casually turned on the car's music system to ease my mood, only to find that all of my playlists were gone, leaving just one glaringly obvious title: Baby Sophie's Favorite Songs. I took a deep breath. The driver nervously explained, "Chairman Hayes, this wasn't me." "I know," I said calmly. "This car is dirty. Dispose of it tomorrow." Marcus suddenly looked up from the back seat, his gaze sharp. Clara, what do you mean by that? Sophie immediately grabbed his sleeve, her eyes reddening. Marcus, brother, don't be angry. Clara's sister just means that I'm dirty. The most important thing right now is the cocktail party. As a secretary, I have no dignity to speak of. It's okay for me to endure some grievances. Marcus glared at me fiercely. Clara, I will settle accounts with you tonight. Settle accounts? Did he really think I would give him the chance? I took out my phone and immediately messaged my lawyer. Prepare to file for divorce. I will send you the evidence later. Marcus mistook my silence for surrender and smirked triumphantly. With that foul temper of yours, who else could possibly put up with you besides me? Ah! At the office, Sophie eagerly helped Marcus adjust his attire. Right in front of me, she tied his tie, fixed his hair, and even pretended to put an ice pack on his perfectly fine cheek. Getting a secretary's salary but doing a wife's job, I mused out loud. I really drew the short straw. Marcus quickly soothed her. All right, Sophie, I'll double your salary starting tomorrow. I smiled and chimed in. Why not just marry her and take her home as your wife? Marcus hissed in a lowered voice. Clara, that's enough. You're so much older than Sophie. Can't you act your age? I raised an eyebrow at him. Didn't you say it was just 5 years older? When did I say that? Marcus suddenly froze. You heard everything last night? What else did you hear? At that moment, several investors pushed the door open and entered. Chairman Hayes, CEO Thorne, long time no see. How have you been lately? At the cocktail party, Sophie, as usual, pushed me to the forefront to socialize. Just as I raised my glass, she suddenly gave me a hard shove from behind. The entire glass of red wine splashed onto my face. The alcohol stung my eyes, leaving me momentarily unable to open them. Around me, waves of mocking laughter erupted. I awkwardly tried to leave, but Sophie grabbed my arm firmly. She snatched a napkin and began to roughly wipe my face. Chairman Hayes, fine wine should be savored slowly. Gulping it down like this only makes the executives laugh at you. She scrubbed with such force that it felt like she was trying to peel off a layer of my skin. I raised my hand to push her away. As soon as my fingers touched her shoulder, Marcus dashed over in a flash, shielding her behind him and slapping me hard across the face in retaliation. A sharp crack echoed through the room, and the entire banquet hall fell into complete silence. Marcus shouted sternly, Clara, you can't even hold a glass properly. What else are you good for? Utterly disgraceful. Sophie kindly helped you tidy up, and not only are you ungrateful, but you also tried to hit her. Get out! I covered my stinging cheek, the alcohol burning my eyes as tears streamed uncontrollably down my face. Marcus, she was the one who pushed me first. Am I not even allowed to defend myself? His expression grew even darker as he roughly pushed me away. Sophie pushed you. Ask anyone present who saw it. Clara, don't always shift your own mistakes onto others. It only makes people look down on you more. I staggered a few steps before regaining my balance, then suddenly burst into laughter. Just now, I had actually tried to explain myself to him, hoping that he would give me fairness in return. From beginning to end, hasn't he always firmly chosen Sophie? What exactly was I still expecting? An 8-year relationship had long become as bland as water. How could it possibly compare to the fresh and exciting allure of a new tenderness? At this moment, I suddenly felt utterly absurd. I hung my head and muttered softly, I despise myself like this, too. I should have left a long time ago. He didn't seem to care at all, lowering his voice to console me. It's good that you know you're wrong. Stop talking about leaving all the time. If others hear, they'll really think we're getting a divorce. Go clean yourself up and come back. I'll hold things down here. Under the meaningful gazes of everyone in the room, I quickly walked toward the door. From behind me, I heard Sophie's apologetic voice. Please excuse our behavior. Chairman Hayes has a childlike temper and has ruined everyone's mood. I will punish myself with 3 drinks. Marcus immediately chimed in agreement. Everyone, it's all my fault for angering Chairman Hayes. I'll also punish myself with 3 drinks. My footsteps suddenly halted, as if someone had stabbed me in the back. My nails dug deep into my palms, reopening freshly scabbed wounds until blood seeped out. With investors still present, I couldn't lose my temper on the spot. But this humiliation was something I would never swallow silently. After wiping away the wine stains from my clothes, I immediately summoned my assistant. Draft a notice for the immediate replacement of the general manager. The reason is that Marcus Thorne has engaged in severely inappropriate personal conduct. The new general manager will be selected through a competitive process among the vice presidents, and all employees will be notified tomorrow morning. The assistant looked uneasy. Chairman, about this matter, does Mr. Thorne know? I looked up at him. He'll naturally find out tomorrow. Seeing that I wasn't joking, the assistant gasped and hurried out to handle the matter. In the company, I had always put Marcus first, and employees had grown accustomed to seeking his approval for all matters. Over time, I, as the chairman, had become more of a supporting role to him. But now, I was determined to reclaim everything that rightfully belonged to me. After wrapping up company affairs, I compiled all the photos and video materials that Sophie had sent me over the past year and forwarded them to my lawyer. The lawyer hesitated after reading them and said, Miss Hayes, this evidence is more than sufficient for filing a divorce lawsuit. I just don't quite understand. Since you've had this evidence for so long, why are you only acting now? After a moment of silence, I replied with a bitter smile. Perhaps because, even after being betrayed, I still wanted to give this 8-year relationship a dignified ending. Over the past year, he hurt me time and again, yet I never once considered kicking him out of the company. Even during the asset division, I was prepared to give him half of the shares. After all, we built the company together through hard work. But he actually schemed to leave me with nothing. It turns out that when a man hardens his heart, he can be utterly ruthless. Please handle the divorce for me. After saying this to the lawyer, I finally let go of the last trace of attachment I had left. Returning home, I booked the earliest flight to a resort island. Once the company matters and the divorce notice were sent out, Marcus would undoubtedly come to pester me. It was better to leave early and find some peace. While packing my luggage, I realized that in our spacious walk-in closet, my clothes occupied only a small corner, while the rest were all of Marcus's belongings. Dozens of bespoke suits, hundreds of shirts, an entire wall of luxury watches, and an array of colognes. I had always thought that we were accustomed to a simple life, but it turns out that was just my own assumption. The purchases of these luxury items all coincidentally occurred after Sophie had appeared on the scene. Indeed, once a man falls in love, he starts caring about his appearance. I only took the necessary documents and papers with me, throwing everything else into the trash, including my wedding ring. As I pushed the door open, dragging my suitcase behind me, Marcus happened to return, standing at the doorway hand in hand with Sophie. Marcus saw me and hurriedly let go of Sophie's hand, a look of guilt flashing across his face. "Honey, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have hit you at the party. I was doing it for your own good. With so many investors and employees watching, dragging it out would only have made things more embarrassing for you." I walked past him expressionlessly, heading straight forward. Marcus caught sight of the suitcase in my hand and suddenly looked nervous, grabbing my wrist. "Honey, where are you going with that luggage?" I pulled my hand away and said calmly, "Just going out to clear my mind." Marcus stared at me intently, showing no intention of letting me go. A hint of jealousy flashed in Sophie's eyes as she smiled and took his arm. "Marcus, brother, Clara's sister embarrassed herself in front of so many people today. She'll probably feel too awkward to go to the company for the next few days. Let her go away and avoid the spotlight." Marcus finally released his grip and said softly, "I'll take you to the airport. I'll look after the company. You can go and relax without any worries." I ignored him and immediately slapped Sophie across the face, saying coldly, "Sorry, but I don't want to leave the account of you pushing me today unsettled until tomorrow. Otherwise, I won't feel at ease." "Clara," Sophie covered her face and cried out, "You're still slandering me! If it weren't for me and Marcus going around toasting to save the atmosphere, who would have cleaned up your mess?" "Enough," I coldly interrupted her. Watching her put on this pretentious act suddenly felt utterly ridiculous. It must be hard for a secretary like you to constantly clean up after me, the chairman. Would you like an extended vacation to rest properly?" She was visibly taken aback, then immediately showed a mocking expression. "Fire me? Everything in this company is decided by Marcus. Do you even have that authority?" I couldn't help but laugh. "Oh, really?" "Sophie," Marcus scolded in a deep voice, "Clara is, after all, the chairman. Mind your attitude." Sophie's face instantly fell, and she bit her lip as she said aggrievedly, "Yes, Mr. Thorne, a powerless little secretary like me deserves to take the blame, deserves to be beaten. It's all my own fault." Her eyes brimmed with tears, her voice choked with emotion. "Fine, I quit. I'll leave right now and stop disturbing your happy reunion. After all, I was always the extra one anyway." With that, she wiped her tears and rushed to hail a taxi by the roadside, only to accidentally stumble and fall, collapsing onto the ground in quiet sobs. Marcus panicked instantly, dashing over in a few quick strides to pull her into his arms. "What nonsense! No one in this company can touch you. Be good. Don't cry." As he spoke, he directly scooped her up in his arms, looking troubled as he passed by me. "Clara, you'll have to go to the airport by yourself. With Sophie in this state, I really can't leave her. Call me when you arrive. I can't rest easy with you traveling alone." Sophie nestled obediently in the crook of his arm, flashing me a triumphant smile over his shoulder. I raised an eyebrow slightly and scoffed. "Sophie, you seem quite happy picking up the trash I threw away." The two of them froze instantly, their faces turning pale and then flushed with anger. I turned around gracefully and got into the private car. As I rolled down the window, even the roadside plane trees looked exceptionally verdant. Letting go of Marcus turned out to be this liberating. No more counting the minutes waiting for him to come home. No more wondering if he had gone to see Sophie again. This shattered marriage had finally become a thing of the past. As the plane soared into the sky, the sea of clouds outside the window surged endlessly, as vast and boundless as the new life I was about to embark upon. Marcus carried Sophie and stepped into the house. This was the first time he had ever brought Sophie back to our home, and surprisingly, she didn't put on her usual air of reserve. By all accounts, after a year of relentless pursuit, finally bearing fruit, he should have been overjoyed. But Marcus just gently placed her on the sofa and turned to leave. "Marcus, brother!" Sophie suddenly hooked her arms around his neck, actively offering her red lips, her usual aloofness completely gone. "Let's be together." Marcus stiffened all over. There was only one thought in his mind: push her away. He almost did it instinctively. Sophie was pushed back onto the sofa, and, after a moment of stunned silence, she suddenly burst into laughter. "No need to keep the promise any more," she said, leaning in close again. "Even though I said I wouldn't let you touch me before marriage." Her delicate fingers trailed over his chest as she whispered seductively, "Shall we go to the bedroom?" Marcus pushed her away again, his expression unreadable, offering an excuse that even he found laughable. "The bedroom is full of Clara's things. It's not appropriate." Sophie's eyes flashed with unwillingness, but she still forced a smile. "Then how about the guest room?" Marcus swallowed hard, but ultimately shook his head. "It's inconvenient everywhere at home. Every corner of this space bears Clara's traces. The slippers at the entrance, the mug on the coffee table, the wedding photo on the wall. How could he be intimate with another woman here?" "I'll take you home," Marcus said, taking a step back, his tone stiff. "I'm too tired today. I'm not in the mood." Before Sophie could react, he had dragged her out the door and roughly shoved her into the car. When they arrived at her apartment building, he mercilessly pulled her out of the car and sped off without a second glance. Sophie stood frozen in place for quite a while, but she soon regained her composure. She knew Marcus all too well. Over the past year, she had him completely under her thumb, keeping him at arm's length when she pleased, drawing him close when she desired. Now that she was suddenly making the first move to reconcile, he was merely putting on airs to try and regain the upper hand. "Let's see how long you can keep up the act," she sneered, and turned to walk home. Within 3 hours, that man would surely come crawling back like a lapdog, begging for her forgiveness. Meanwhile, inside the car, Marcus felt an inexplicable unease. In the past, whenever Clara got angry, she would cry, make a scene, and vent hysterically. But this time, she was acting so unusually calm, presenting the divorce papers without any fuss or argument when he refused. He remembered the last time they had fought over divorce. Clara had smashed everything in the house. Marcus drove restlessly, his thoughts growing increasingly chaotic. In a moment of distraction, the car suddenly crashed into the roadside guardrail. Bang! His head slammed heavily onto the airbag, and his vision momentarily darkened. Staggering, he pushed open the car door and steadied himself against the guardrail, blood from his temple trickling down his cheek. "Clara, what the hell are you up to?" Clenching his teeth, he pulled out his phone, but the call he made was met only with the cold, automated tone of a powered-off device. His heart suddenly felt as if a piece had been torn out of it. Marcus blacked out and collapsed to the ground. When he woke up again, it was already the next morning in a hospital bed. By his side, Sophie, her eyes red and swollen, was crying uncontrollably. "Marcus, brother, the company has dismissed you. I was fired too. Clara, that vicious woman, she issued the notice right after leaving the party yesterday, but it was only sent out this morning." Marcus suddenly propped himself up from the hospital bed. "Dismissal? On what grounds? Who gave the order?" "It was Clara," Sophie sobbed uncontrollably. "She used your lifestyle issues as an excuse, and now the whole company is spreading rumors that I'm your mistress. I don't care. You have to take responsibility for me. Go and divorce Clara, seize her shares, and kick her out of the company." Marcus closed his eyes, his voice as cold as ice. "I won't get a divorce." Sophie's expression froze instantly. "Then what am I to you? Do you really see me as just your mistress?" Marcus suddenly felt utterly disgusted by her domineering attitude. Did she really think she could replace Clara? "What else?" he sneered in retort. Sophie's face instantly turned deathly pale. Before she could speak, Marcus said coldly, "Sophie, you can get lost now. You're not even qualified to be a mistress. I'm tired of you." Sophie froze for a few seconds, then suddenly grabbed her handbag and hurled it violently at him. "Marcus, you bastard! I won't let you get away with this." Finally, security guards who had heard the commotion came and dragged her out. The impact had reopened Marcus's wounds, and blood quickly soaked through the bandage on his head. At that moment, his phone suddenly rang. It was an unfamiliar number. Marcus answered immediately. "Clara?" A stern female voice came through the phone. "Mr. Thorne, hello. I am Miss Hayes's attorney. The documents regarding the divorce proceedings have been sent to your email, including the property division agreement." "I won't get divorced," Marcus abruptly interrupted, his fingers unconsciously tightening around the bedsheet. The lawyer continued matter-of-factly, "Miss Hayes has granted us full authority to handle—" Marcus hung up the phone directly. He felt the world spinning around him, a boulder pressing on his chest as his breathing grew increasingly labored. Darkness enveloped his vision as he passed out once again. After a week-long vacation on a remote island, I headed straight to the company to attend the selection meeting for the new general manager. As soon as I reached the company entrance, I saw Marcus leaning against the glass door. He was holding a cigarette, which surprised me, since he had quit smoking 8 years ago. Amid the swirling smoke, his face looked particularly haggard. When he saw me, he hastily stubbed out his cigarette and instinctively waved his hand to disperse the lingering smoke. This small gesture made me freeze for a moment. He still remembered how much I hated the smell of smoke. His voice was hoarse, almost beyond recognition. "Honey, I know I was wrong. Please give me one last chance, okay? I have completely cut ties with Sophie. This past year I was bewitched, but I've always loved only you. Life is still long. Don't sentence me to death for one mistake, okay?" I had heard such words too many times before. Every time he knows he's wrong, yet he never truly changes. Forgiving him is too easy. But who will heal the scars in my heart? I gazed at him calmly, suddenly realizing that my heart no longer rippled for him. You're right. Life is still long. I still believe in love, but that person will never be you again. His eyes instantly reddened, his trembling hand reaching out to stop me. Clara, I'll give you the company. I don't want anything. Just please, don't go. His voice choked with emotion. He suddenly fell to his knees. I swear, I'll change. I'll change until you're satisfied. Wife, please don't divorce me. I really can't take it. Kneeling, swearing, weeping, the exact same act as last time. Does he still naively think that I will soften my heart again? Seeing me standing still without moving, a glimmer of hope suddenly lit up in his eyes, and he said cautiously, Honey, I'll really change this time. I suddenly laughed, shaking my head lightly. Don't call me that. The divorce papers have already been submitted to the court with evidence totaling 8 gigabytes. If you want to see it, ask your lawyer. The light in his eyes dimmed bit by bit until he finally lowered his head in defeat. I didn't give him another glance, striding straight into the company. Employees greeted me with smiles. Good morning, Chairman. Taking a deep breath, the bitterness that had built up over the past year finally dissipated.
After the divorce, I took full control of the company shares and compensated Marcus for his 5 years of work according to market salary standards. Unexpectedly, he voluntarily gave up all of our jointly owned properties, including those 28 real estate units. The only thing he insisted on keeping was the house we had lived in together for 5 years. He said it was his final resting place, his home, and he would guard it forever. Later, the neighbors told me that he spent his days drowning in alcohol, and in the dead of night, heart-wrenching sobs could always be heard coming from the house. Until one day, news suddenly broke that he had been imprisoned. Sophie, not only having lost her job, but also having had the affair spread like wildfire online, had also been exposed for having a habit of seducing other people's boyfriends back in school, a serial homewrecker. Harboring a deep grudge against Marcus, she had sneaked into his house one night and found him drunk. During the ensuing fight, she fell from the second floor and was left paralyzed for life. The prison sent word that he wanted to see me, and I refused without hesitation. The only regret I have in this marriage is realizing too late and giving him far too many chances to hurt me. For the rest of our lives, we need not meet again.